Hi there, this is Clovis from Kinematic Lab. In this video I'm going to talk to you about the trail object. So let's start the UI Toolkit interface. I'm going to the stripes category and select the trail, and I click in the viewport, and that's it. Your object is created. You can now right click to stop the creation and go to the parameters. So what you see right now is just a square, okay, because it has to pick an external mesh in order to work. So I will just create a helper in my scene, okay, and now I will pick this helper as the source object. So what the trail should do is creating a mesh like a trajectory trail after this this helper animation. So this one has to be animated in order to see any result. So let's create an animation. Okay, so now you can see something is happening. You have a trail created, but you have to change some options to see it better. So I just change here the width to make it larger. You can change the count, which is the number of frames duration. So if you say like 4 frames, it's going to take only 4 frames, okay? And you can increase it. And it really takes the object animation, so if it stops, the line is going to end at some point. But you can continue the animation, and it's going to follow the way it's animated. Okay. You can change the up vector here. So if I pick the z-axis, okay, the line is going to look at the z-axis. Can pick y or x, but let's stick to z for now. You also have an access to the number of sides. So for the moment, 2 sides is making a plane, okay, a sort of flat ribbon, okay. But if you choose 3 and change the axis like that, for example, you start to have a circle pattern. So then what you can notice here is that this circle pattern, I mean, even if it's flat like that, it follows the orientation of the y-axis of this dot. So if I want to have a nice trail, I also have to rotate it, okay, so the rotation sort of look at the direction it goes. Okay, and you see what it does here. Because you have a straight key, it makes a sort of break. Okay, this looks much better. You can also rotate this to twist it. Okay, it's really following the transform of this object. So if you scale it, it's going to be scaled as well. And you can make really nice trails. Fine. Now you also have access to the tip. So it's the width of the, I mean, the tip of the trail. So if you keep two sides to make a plane, okay, you can still see the twist and the scale, etc. And if you change the tip from 0 to 100, you see that 100 is the maximum width, and 0, which is 0, 1 exactly, is sort of minimum. You can still change the count at any moment. Okay, that's it for the lines. And you can, instead of having a stripe or a circle stripe, you can have some dots instead of that. So it's making a trail of dots. That's exactly the same, and you can change the radius of the dots, the number of segments, the type of meshes. It can be circle, a square, a sphere, okay, or a custom mesh. So if you pick an external mesh like a little box like that, so it's using this mesh to make the dots. And even these dots have the tip value like that. Okay, now let's go back to the stripes. So I will disable, we can change the size also of the custom mesh. I will disable these dots here, go back to the stripe. And right now what we did is that we picked a helper. But what happened if we create a line, for example, like that, okay? And if I animate it like that, I move it, okay? And in my trail object, instead of picking a helper, I will pick a spline. Well, what it does now, it doesn't really take the transform of the source object, okay, of this line, but it will really take the positions along this line. So I animated it like that, but I also could animate the vertices. And they are going to be animated as well. So let's put some other keys. So you can really make some nice looking trails. Change the number of frames, okay, taken in account. And the number of sides here is just the number of divisions along the line. The tip here doesn't change anything. Okay, the width either. It's just taking positions along this spline. Okay, let's go back to this. And now talk about the materials. So like other objects in the UI toolkit, some materials are already setted. So in the example of a trail like that, it's only one idea, one material, so it doesn't really have any choice. But if you use some dots instead, okay, you will have access to some material ideas. So if I create a multi-sub object and apply it, then I will add some materials to it, like 3 different ones. 1, 2, 3, and change their colors. Okay. For now, what you see is it's just using the first one. But if I check this option and change this number, the multiple IDs number, you see that if I choose 2, it will loop along these 2 ideas here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If I check 3, it's going to loop along 1, 2, 3, and I can add more. Okay, 4, 5, it's going to loop along 5, these 5 materials. I can change their color so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Fine. You can even animate this slide. Okay, so it will loop along the dots with these materials. So this can be animated. You can also fade it. So just check the fade option here and press the vertex color toggle. So it will show the vertex colors from black to white. You can invert this from white to black. Okay, and this is only vertex colors, so it can't really render. But if you apply a material like this one, I mean only this one will be applied to my trail, and on this material you add a vertex color map in a mix, for example. So the mix is going to be in the diffuse, and the vertex color is going to be the mix amount. So the color from black to white is going to blend between the colors I put in the mix. So if I use blue and yellow, for example, okay, and render it, you see that it blends from blue here to yellow there. And if I invert this, it's going to be inverted in the render as well. So this vertex color can be really used anywhere in your materials, in the opacity, for example. So if I remove this, you see that now you see less these objects, even in just the alpha, okay, etc. Now let me show you something quite fun to do with this trail. So I will go back to this option, okay. I will remove these keyframes and I will just add a noise controller on the position, for example, here. Fine. And I will change these values to make noise bigger and slower. Okay, that's it. So now if I play my animation, you see that this helper is sort of always moving, and you have your trail always following it, and that's quite cool because you can make some noise movements. So it's not only useful if you keyframe the objects, but you can add some controllers to make some nice animations. So I can even put one on the rotation. And eventually another one on the scale. Let's make it bigger. You can change the tip here, make it shorter or longer, etc. And you could also, for example, just do an animation of a helper like that. Okay, I will pick it. So you can have a noise only on the scale of the source object, like that. I'll make it bigger. So you can make pretty cool stuff. And that's it. See you in the next video.